Okay, now crime is still a major concern in the country, and the hijacking of residential properties is said to be on the rise. Some hijacked buildings are also a hub for criminal activity, and some of them have been badly damaged. Let's discuss this now with Angeka Rivers from the Johannesburg Property Owners and Managers Association. Ms. Rivers, good afternoon. Welcome to Today on ENCA. How prevalent is the building hijacking of buildings, residential properties included, as well as commercial properties in Johannesburg?
Hi, Dan. Yes, it is quite prevalent, especially in the inner city. It has been going on for many years. I have a great example of one of our members whose property has been hijacked for 16 years. It has become a breeding ground for criminals and also human trafficking. The landlord recently found out that a lot of the tenants there have been brought in by the busload, their passports taken away from them, and in order to get them back, they have to either beg or steal in order to get their ID documents back. It's become a really an anti-development zone within the inner city due to the fact that the building hijackings are becoming so dangerous. There's many examples in the inner city, and unfortunately, away investment.
Yeah, that's another issue we can talk about. But so this member you're using in as example, what can they do about it? I mean, have they reported it to the police? I understand the law is pretty much outdated.
Yes, unfortunately, there is an act in place called the PI Act, which is very outdated and wasn't really written for residential property. And the criminals are now using this act in order to remain occupied within the property. So the act is very specific, and it says that you cannot evict someone unless the city provides alternative accommodation. The city is incapable of providing alternative accommodation. So it then falls on the landlord to find this accommodation. And I mean, that's impossible because they would have to use their own properties to move the hijackers out of their buildings into their second building. It has become a huge problem, the alternative accommodation within the inner city.
Yeah, and the landlord has got costs because my understanding, if that property is registered under his or her name, the rates for the city are for his account.
Absolutely. All the water. So unless he applies for a level 3 disconnection, which can take quite a while to get, surprisingly, he will continue to pay. He will continue to be charged for the water and electricity used within the hijacked building, and most certainly the rates. Absolutely.
Now, what's level 3 disconnection?
Disconnection. That's when they come and they remove all the power box, everything, so that they cannot then bypass the system. So it's a full electrical disconnection from the building.
So as an association, what are you able to do? What can you do to assist your members? Because the law is not on your side in terms of the PI Act that you've referred to. It doesn't cover residential properties. And when you engage with the process, including with the city, it's a long, drawn-out bureaucratic mess.
Exactly. I mean, the ideal situation would be as the minute your property is illegally occupied, to report it to the police immediately, get your lawyers involved, and start the process immediately. Don't wait and think that you might be able to get them out on your own. The legal process is very long and tedious and can drag on for 3, 5. I mean, as I said, this example is 16 years that it's been in the legal system, and every single time it goes to court, the city says, "Well, we don't have any accommodation," and the hijackers get to stay in the building until the next court date.
Is there any?
And I think,
carry on. Carry on.
There is a building in Berea called Casimir, which is the city's alternative accommodation. It's managed by Joshco, and that building is currently hijacked, which shows that there's a huge. The hijackers at the moment seem to have all the power. They are controlling everything. They've managed to hijack the city's own alternative accommodation.
They've gained such an upper hand, and they literally they are entrenched. Is there any example where a member of your association has been successful, even after a long time, to regain control of their property?
Yes, there are a lot of incidences. Luckily, there's There's a lawyer in Johannesburg, I don't know if I can give his name, but he is the expert on evictions. He's been doing it for the 16 years that I've been in the inner city, and he has many successes. But they are delayed. There's a lot of court dates delayed. The court system was closed for 2 years, so a lot of those evictions were put on hold, and they're only really now starting to gain momentum.
It's interesting that criminals have found a loophole in the law and they're behaving criminally, but they are using the law and the city is protecting them.
Absolutely, Dan. You know, one of the clauses in the PI Act says you cannot evict people who are disabled. So what the hijackers will do is they will almost employ blind people to live in the building so that you can't evict them, because now there are people with disabilities within the property. So then the process is even delayed longer. I can tell you every clause they found a loophole. The Act needs to be updated, and there needs to be a plug on it, really.
Will your association be campaigning for an amendment to this PI Act?
It is something that we are looking at. One of our directors is meeting with lawyers to look at how we can review the Act and how we can put our input to try and make it more landlord and tenant friendly.